Reluctantly, babysat my stepbrother's kids every evening, but when I told his wife I couldn't continue, she filed for divorce and blamed me for ruining their marriage. Hey everyone, so here's the deal. My stepbrother Aaron, who's 36, got hitched about 8 years ago and now has two kiddos, a 5-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old son. I'm 34, and honestly, we're not super close. It makes sense, though, because we didn't grow up together. My parents split when I was really young, and they had joint custody of me. When I was 17, my dad started dating my stepmom, so both Aaron and I were already pretty much adults. We never actually lived together because by the time my stepmom moved in, I was off to college and then straight into a job afterward. So I've been on my own since then. Don't get me wrong, I don't have any beef with my stepmom or Erin, but I wouldn't exactly call them my family. They're more like my dad's family, and I respect that. We've never had any bad blood or anything. Recently, Aaron and his family moved to my city about 10 days ago because he's got this new project he's working on and might be here for a year or more. It's convenient for his wife, too, since her family lives here and her dad's pretty sick, so she can spend time with them during the day while Aaron's at work. So my dad asked me to show Aaron around and help him settle in, which I did. I thought that would be the end of it, just helping out. But Aaron apparently thought I'd be at his beck and call. Almost a week ago, he started dropping his kids at my place every evening. He had my number and address in case he needed anything, but this was a bit much. The first time, he asked if I could babysit for an hour because he had urgent work and his wife was with her sick dad. Since they were new in town and didn't have a sitter, I reluctantly agreed, even though I'm not really into kids. I work from home and value my alone time after work. To give Aaron some credit, he never left the kids for more than an hour and a half and was always punctual, picking them up, thanking me every time. But still, it became an everyday thing, and I had zero time for myself in the evenings. 2 days ago, I told Aaron he needed to find a sitter because I couldn't keep doing this. He promised he would, so yesterday I had plans to go out with my friends. I made sure to tell Aaron in the morning that I wouldn't be able to babysit even though it was Saturday and his job didn't typically require him to work weekends. I wanted to be clear, but right when I was doing my makeup, the doorbell rang at the usual time. I had this whole speech ready, but before I could say anything, Aaron had already driven off, leaving a note with his daughter saying sorry. That didn't mean much since I had to cancel my plans. I was fuming. I tried calling Aaron, but his phone was off, so I decided to call his wife. We don't know each other well. I've only met her a few times. I explained the whole babysitting situation and how Aaron had dropped the kids off despite me saying I wasn't available. I told her I couldn't keep doing this, especially on weekends, and she needed to come get the kids. She didn't say much, just that she'd be over soon. She came about half an hour later, and we didn't really talk. She picked up the kids, and that was that. So I didn't check my phone last night because I was out drinking with my friends. I only do this once or twice a month, so I like to unplug and just enjoy the moment. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb mode and didn't get any notifications until I checked it this morning. To my surprise, I had like 1,000 missed calls, messages, and voicemails from everyone, my dad, Aaron, and even my stepmom, which was weird because she never really contacts me unless it's a major emergency. I was super confused, so before calling anyone back, I decided to read some of the messages. Most of them were accusing me of being an idiot and said I shouldn't have talked to Aaron's wife about whatever was going on. Still clueless, I called my dad first. As soon as he picked up, he started yelling at me, saying I'd ruined Aaron's marriage. I had no idea what he was talking about until he explained that because of a call I made, Aaron's wife found out that he wasn't actually going to the park with the kids. Instead, he was dropping them off at my place and sneaking off somewhere else. Aaron also lied to me about having to go back to the office for work. His wife contacted one of his coworkers who told her that nobody from their department works on Sundays. She even drove to his workplace to check, and his car wasn't there. She talked to some women leaving the building who confirmed that Aaron hadn't been back after work all week, despite what he'd been telling her. So his lies were exposed, and she confronted him. When he wouldn't come clean, she moved out with the kids to her parents' place. I thought it was weird Aaron needed to go back to work every day after leaving, but I didn't question it because it wasn't my business and I have my stuff to deal with. After hearing all this from my dad, I realized Aaron had been lying to everyone and was now blaming me for getting caught. I told my dad it was sad his marriage was ending because of his lies, but I didn't see how it was my fault. My dad insisted that if I hadn't made that call, none of this would have happened. That annoyed me because I have my own life and plans, and I'm not going to apologize for living it. He said I betrayed the family and should have just watched the kids without stirring up trouble by contacting Aaron's wife. That really pissed me off because he was putting all the blame on me. I snapped and told him I wasn't the one lying to my partner, and Aaron should be getting yelled at, not me. My dad said I should apologize to Aaron because he was upset, but I refused, saying Aaron needed to get his act together. Then my dad said families don't do this to each other. I told him that Aaron and his wife are not my family, they're just his family. That seemed to shock him, and he asked if I really didn't consider Aaron and his wife as family. I said no because we never built a strong relationship, so why pretend? It's not like they consider me close family either, so what's the big deal? After that, my dad got cold and said if that's how I felt, then there was nothing more to discuss, and he hung up. I was genuinely confused. A few minutes later, he texted me saying he always expected me to respect him and the people around him. So here's the deal. I had totally made up my mind that I wasn't going to give my stepmom and stepbrother any respect, even though he felt like he had some obligations towards them. Because of this, he decided not to talk to me either, saying that what I did to Aaron was totally unacceptable. Dad pointed out that Aaron wasn't really causing me much trouble. I was working from home anyway, and Aaron would always drop the kids off after I was done with work and pick them up within an hour. So yeah, what I did wasn't nice, and now I have no idea what to do. I ended up calling my stepbrother's wife to pick up their kids because I didn't want to babysit them anymore. Anyway, here's the first update. I decided not to apologize to Aaron because I realized Dad was just trying to guilt trip me. It's been a few days since we last spoke, and I haven't heard a peep from him. I know he's super pissed at me, but hey, what can I do? I talked to my mom about it, and she actually agreed that Dad was being unreasonable. She almost never says anything bad about him since they're still on good terms, but this time she said he was acting irrationally. She even promised to talk to him. Yesterday, she called me and told me they ended up fighting over this because she took my side. Apparently, Dad said she was encouraging the wrong behavior, so now they're not talking either. Mom was really upset when she called me, which is rare for her. She said she's not going to talk to Dad until he apologizes to me because what he said was totally out of line and hurtful. Apparently, Dad called me a spoiled brat who doesn't care about anyone but myself, which isn't true at all. Mom tried to defend me, but Dad just yelled at her, saying if she's on my side, they have nothing more to discuss. So yeah, hearing all this, I was super mad. At first, I thought I'd forgive Dad if he came to his senses and apologized, but now I'm not so sure. I don't think I'm going to talk to him, even if he does apologize. What he said was not only untrue, but also really hurtful. I'm a grown woman with my own life, and if Dad's going to be a jerk, I'm just going to cut him out of my life and move on. Update 2. A lot has happened since my last update. Last evening, I finally got a message from Dad. It's been almost 2 weeks since we last spoke, and I hadn't heard from him at all, but I forgot to block his number, so he managed to text me saying that Aaron's wife served him with divorce papers a couple of days ago, and he's devastated. That really annoyed me because I didn't ask for an update on their situation. It felt like he was trying to make it seem like it was my fault. So I ignored it and blocked his number. But then Dad called me from his work number. He asked if I had no shame or feelings at all because Aaron was getting divorced because of me, and I couldn't even apologize or try to fix things. That really pissed me off. I told him I didn't find anything to be ashamed of or guilty about. Aaron was getting divorced because of his own lies, not because of me. I just accidentally exposed them. Honestly, if he was behaving that way, he probably didn't deserve his wife anyway. Dad started talking about family loyalty again, but I cut him off and told him I had heard what he said to Mom about me. I have zero interest in talking to him anymore. If he wants to support a liar, that's his choice. but he shouldn't expect me to do the same. To me, they're not even my family, so family loyalty doesn't apply here. It's his family. He can be loyal to them if he wants. But he should also consider that Aaron is a liar. I told him if he's going to yell at Mom for supporting me, I could question him for supporting Aaron too. He started fumbling with his words, so I took the chance to hang up and block that number too. I have a feeling he's not going to stop and will keep trying to contact me until I apologize or do something about this. Anyway, I didn't hear from Dad after that call, but Aaron showed up this morning around 7. I'm usually up by then for my jog and workout, so that's where we're at now. I had just wrapped up my workout session and was getting ready to head out for my morning jog when the doorbell rang. Glancing through the window, I saw it was Aaron, and I was instantly annoyed. It was way too early for his drama. I didn't want to deal with him at all, especially at this hour. He looked like a mess, slouched shoulders, dark circles under his eyes, clearly hadn't slept in days. I knew whatever he was about to drop on me wasn't going to be good news. Not wanting to start my day with his issues, I asked him to leave. I didn't want to be rude because, honestly, he looked pitiful, but he insisted he had something urgent to discuss and promised he wouldn't bother me again if I just opened the door. He spoke calmly, quite the opposite of my dad, who's been yelling at me since we had this massive fight. Aaron's demeanor made me feel bad, so I reluctantly let him in. The atmosphere was awkward, to say the least. I offered my condolences for whatever was going on in his life, but I made sure he knew I wasn't apologizing for calling his wife. I didn't want him to mistakenly think I was sorry about that and pass it along to my dad. Aaron started talking about how there had been endless arguments about the divorce over the last few days, and finally his wife had blocked him and served him with divorce papers. I already knew that part, but then he mentioned he was thinking about not contesting the divorce. That threw me off a bit because he'd been fighting for his marriage so far, and I couldn't figure out why he was giving up now. But hey, not my business. I let him continue. He said his wife was demanding a lot in the divorce because she thought he was having an affair, which he claimed wasn't true. This puzzled me even more because if he wasn't cheating, then why was he lying about his whereabouts whenever he dropped his kids off at my place? Again, none of my business, so I didn't ask. Finally, Aaron got to the point. He wanted me to take his side in the divorce. He asked if I could record a testimonial saying he was a good father and that apart from the one day I called his wife, there had been no trouble with his kids. Also, he wanted me to mention that he was always punctual in dropping them off and picking them up, so it had never been an inconvenience for me. Honestly, I didn't have an issue with saying that, but it bothered me that he claimed he wasn't cheating on his wife. If that was true, what was he up to? I didn't want to get involved in this mess, so I told him I wished him luck, but I couldn't directly help him. Aaron looked really annoyed and told me that I owed him this favor since he was in this situation because of me. That ticked me off, and I reminded him that he was in this mess because he lied to his wife and dumped his kids on me without asking first. He looked ashamed, but said he was already paying a heavy price for his mistakes and needed this last favor. I told him I'd think about it just to get him off my back and stood up, signaling it was time for him to leave, but Aaron just sat there on my couch. After a few tense seconds, he finally spilled the beans. He wasn't seeing some affair partner. He was visiting his half-sister, who, surprise, also happens to be my half-sister. I was floored. I accused him of lying, but he looked me straight in the eye and said that this is why he'd kept it a secret. Aaron revealed that my stepmom and dad had a child together during their affair, long before their respective divorces. For context, my parents split up 28 years ago, and this half-sister he mentioned is now 32. They had pretended the baby was my stepmom's husband's child, but when he figured out the truth, he left. The baby was put up for adoption, and my mom and I had been in the dark all this time. My dad got lucky when my mom asked for a divorce 2 years after my stepmom got pregnant, saying she was unhappy and wanted to move on. This convenient timing made everything seem less suspicious, so my dad kept his relationship with my stepmom under wraps until I turned 17, and then they got married. It was a pretty ingenious plan, I had to admit. No harm, no foul. Recently, Aaron found out about our half-sister and decided he wanted to build a relationship with her, which explained his mysterious absences. His wife knew the truth, and that's why they were considering divorce. So she decided to go ahead with the divorce because she still couldn't shake the feeling that he wasn't being truthful, and now he was asking for my help. Thing is, he didn't really know anyone else around here who could lend a hand, but I had just found out a ton of stuff, and honestly, I told him I couldn't offer anything more than a good luck. I needed time to digest everything, so I told him I'd get back to him later. He saw how shocked I was about Dad's lies and apologized for how I found out, saying he had no other choice. Since then, I've done absolutely nothing because everything's super foggy right now. I have no clue how to break this to Mom, but I know I'll have to eventually. I'm still coming to terms with it myself. Aaron showed me some pretty damning photos and proof, and there's no way to deny it. So here's the scoop. Update number 3. Hey, it's been a couple of weeks since my last update. I'm guessing you're wondering if I told my mom. Yeah, I did. I spilled everything I found out. At first, she was in denial just like I was, but after showing her the proof and having a talk with Dad, she realized it was true. Since then, we've cut off everyone. I'm not talking to my dad. And I told Aaron I wouldn't help him with his divorce. I just don't want anything to do with that side of the family right now. I'm not sure if I'll ever reach out to my sister, but for now, everything's too fresh to move past it. Mom and I are just keeping to ourselves for now. She's the only family I have left. Everything about this situation sucks, but I'm trying to move on little by little and slowly build my trust in people again.